Hi class, it's Miss Miller. I did it. I made it before our 4:30 deadline. So you do have homework tonight. So overall, I just wanted to let you guys know that you did a great job today on your discussions. I was so excited. This idea of a flipped classroom is awesome. You guys were ready to talk about the feminist approach for the Pearl. And it's quite interesting. I think many of you are finding some details that we didn't see before. And so that was really cool. I've gotten some emails already of your recorded discussions, so thank you. And you know what I wanted to let you guys know is that you can apply a feminist perspective to many of the classics or classical literature that you read in your English classes. You can really look at it closely with a fine-tooth comb in the same manner that we're sort of doing with the Pearl. So I just wanted to let you guys know. So I do have a talk that I wanted to do. It's really just a recap of chapter 1, where we address like the parenting styles and the gender roles, and as well as the marriage roles, the attitudes that the Steinbeck has towards both men and women. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some power shifts, a little bit of Marxism, which is next week. So I just wanted you guys to know that. So please be sure to take notes in this lecture. In fact, what you can do if you're going to do Cornell-style notes in your notebook, go ahead and just do the right side, and then we can always fill in the left side after you're finished with the notes. Okay, so let's get started.
In anything, and is in the social structure of a marriage. From a Pearl portrays it is they're just there, and the man is in control, and the woman has no say in their marriage. It's only what the man says.
Because it doesn't really give.
So again, here is some of the work that you did today in class at the very beginning, where you sort of distinguish between men and women for both marriage roles and attitudes. So let's take a closer look at the text itself. So let's take a look at page 6 and page 7. And I want to look at Kino's reaction as well as actions to Juana's reaction as well as her actions. So if you notice in yellow, I highlighted Kino's breath whistled in his nostrils and he opened his mouth to stop it. Startled look was gone from him, so that was his reaction. But as you can see, it's almost permissible for the man here, Kino in this case, to be angry. It's okay for him to show his frustration. And so he does that with this is the context, by the way, is this is where the scorpion is going down to, bite their son or their baby. And so his is his reaction. And then we see a juxtaposition with his wife, Juana. And if you look down further in yellow, it says, under her breath, Juana repeated an ancient magic to guard against such evil. The key words here would be under her breath. And you can't see it on the page. You have to actually open your own book. But it says she muttered. So she is having more of a reservation. Her role here is, under her breath, muttered. Those key words are important. Then when we take a look, it goes back in contrast, and it begins with the word but. It's at the bottom of page 6. But Kino was in motion. So he can take action. She can maybe speak, and if she does speak, it's very subtle. He takes action. He was in motion. His body glided quietly across the room. His hands were in front of him. I'm going over to page 7, second paragraph, where it says Kino stood perfectly still. So he's strategizing. He's plotting. His job is to do something. And then again, you'll see highlighted in pink on page 7, it says Juana whispering the old magic again. So her power is limited to whisper, mutter under her breath. I hope you see a pattern there in terms of what is she allowed to do? What is Steinbeck allowing her to do in the text? And then we know she's quite capable of more. And then we go on to see Kino's hand went forward very slowly, very smoothly. His hand leaped to catch it. Again, he's very strategic. right? He's supposed to be the smart one in the text. He leaped, snarling. Kino had it in his fingers, rubbing it to paste in his hands. He threw it down and beat it in the floor with his fists. And Coyotito screamed with pain, but Kino beat and stamped the enemy until it was only fragment and a moist place in the dirt. His teeth were bared, and the fury flared in his eyes. The fury flared in his eyes. Again, he is permissible to be upset and anger. And was he successful? No, because the little boy was still bitten by the scorpion. And then it goes on to say, but Joanna had the baby in her arms now. She found the puncture with redness starting from it already. She put her lips down over the puncture and sucked hard and spat and sucked again. So I just I wonder if it were Juana who was allowed to do something about it instead of Kino, would the baby have been bitten? I don't think so. Okay, and then there's Kino. He hovers over. He was helpless. Of course he was helpless. He couldn't do anything. And then we look in by the way, we're on page 8 and page 9. And we see in the second paragraph, 3 lines down, we see the misogyny that's applied here. Again, misogyny would be the negative attitude towards women. And we see that here as they describe Juan Thomas's wife. She has a very limited role in the text. In fact, I think they mention her like 3 times. And 2 of the 3 times they give a physical description, and it's a derogatory one. It's a disparaging one. It refers to her as his fat wife. This is Juan Thomas's fat wife, is how they refer to him. So we're seeing the misogyny in the text. Then we go on to look at the beginning of the 3rd paragraph. Juana stopped sucking the puncture for a moment. So we can see her role as a woman. We also see, she's a nurturer. It's instinctive. She's the caretaker. This is her job. This is her parenting style as well. She knows her role. This is what she's supposed to do. If we look at page 9, it gives a direct quote about how Juana should be best described. It says on the very top of page 9, she's patient, a fragile wife. She was obedient and respectful and cheerful and patient. She could arch her back in child pain with hardly a cry. She could stand fatigue and hunger almost better than Kino himself. She was like a strong woman. What do you mean she was like a strong man. That's what it says. She was like a strong man. What do you mean, Steinbeck, she was like a strong man? Why can't you just say she was a strong woman? So I bet you guys didn't even notice this when you read that they were so coarse towards the women in the text. She was like a strong man. How about she just was a strong woman? So then it goes on to show her to be more assertive in the next paragraph when she says, the doctor, she said, go to get the doctor. So here she's assertive. She recognizes like, hey, this is how we resolve this issue. She's relied on Kino. She's sort of taken a back seat for long enough. And here it is. If we go down to the yellow part, you see in the following subsequent paragraphs, it says, he would not come. The people in the door said, and they thought got into Kino. So guess who says it? Kino's the one who says, the doctor would not come, Kino said to Juana. Duh, she can figure that out, but I guess he's also the messenger from the people in the town. They're communicating that to him, and then he can tell that to his wife. And she looked up at him, her eyes as cold as the eyes of a lioness. Come on, she is not that naive. But it says, in the last remaining lines, it says, this was nearly everything. Okay, so pages 10 and 11, this was nearly everything that was highlighted for yellow. So this baby was everything to her. This is Juana. So again, there's a gender role. It's her life. This baby is her life. We see like a power shift, and we'll talk about the power shift more on Friday. But she's sort of taking a more assertive role. She arranged her dark blue, and then she goes right back. She regresses. She arranged her dark blue shawl over her head and made of one end of it a sling to hold the moaning baby, and made of the other end it a shade over his eyes to protect him from the light. She is the protector. She is the nurturer. She is the mom. And look here, if you see in yellow, Kino followed her. So there's a little bit of a shift. She's taking the lead here. And now he follows her. And then you see, I want to talk about this gender role here and this misogyny again as they discuss Juan Thomas's wife. It's Paulina, and she is they describe her as her big stomach jiggling. This is how they describe her, with the strenuous pace for the gender role. So a little cruel in terms. Steinbeck's a little cruel. Again, this woman has very limited role in the text, and here it is that they treat her this way. If we look over here on the next page, page 11, this one we'll talk about next week, but this is a Marxist approach. So here we are on page 12 and 13. So this part we see at the very bottom of page 12, Kino, I highlighted it in yellow for you. You have to have your book to see the bottom of it. But Kino felt weak and afraid and angry at the same time. Rage and terror went together. He could kill the doctor more easily than he could talk to him, for all of the doctor's race spoke to all of Kino's race as though they were simple animals. So again, we see a little bit of Marxism, which we'll talk about next week. But really what I want you to see is how Kino gets to express his anger all of the time. He's just a miserable, angry person. But first, it initially says he felt weak and afraid. So whenever it seems like he feels a little bit vulnerable, then we start to see his anger come out. And then the bottom half of 12, it says, and as Kino raised his right hand to the iron ring knocker in the gate, rage swelled in him. He's always so upset and angry. Granted, he is justified in it, but I mean, every single time it's rage swelled up on him. Whenever he feels like he can't do anything. And the pounding music of the enemy beat in his ears, and his lips drew tight against his teeth. So if we look on page 13, it then goes on to say, Kino took off his hat, stood waiting. So now he's a little bit more calm. And then we see Juana, who speaks softly to the baby as it moans. So again, she's the nurturer, and that's what's happening here. Okay, so if we look at page 15, you're going to see I highlighted it in yellow. It says Kino reached into a secret place somewhere under his blanket. Again, we see this blanket a couple times. They mentioned that, so this seems to be symbolic for him. But he brought out paper folded many times, crease by crease. He unfolded it until at last there came the view, 8 small. So and finally on page 16, we see this whole attitude towards marriage, getting out the money, and how Steinbeck approaches it. It says for a long time, Kino stood in front of the gate, not in front. Keep in mind, in front. That's not the best. With Juana beside him. So again, we saw this before at the very beginning of the text, where he was sleeping and she lay beside him, and she looks into his eyes, and she's always looking at him. And then it goes on. You see, it says he struck the gate. He's angry. The gate. A crushing blow with his fist. He looked down in wonder at his split knuckles and at the blood that flowed down between his fingers. It's no wonder he, punched his wife and kicked her and started hissing. He's a crazy, angry man. Now it's no surprise. If we go back and look, we see that he's just angry all the time. Anytime he doesn't get his way, it's like a spoiled brat. Okay. Okay, class, so this is the end of our lecture. I made it in time for 4:30. Look who's here with me today, Cade.
Hi.
He's going to join us again in the class. We are so happy, so we're working on that. But look what he learned. He learned that he needs to have perseverance. He was going to give up on us, and now he's not going to. Do you want to say anything?
I'm coming back.
Yes.